The flames climbed higher than my rooftop, thick black smoke strangling the sky above my quiet suburban street. My heart pounded against my chest as I stood frozen in my driveway, watching helplessly as years of effort and dreams crumbled into ash before my eyes. My ship, a one I'd spent 2 years crafting from scratch, was swallowed by fire. The deck I'd painstakingly laid plank by plank, the sail I'd stitched by hand, the engine I'd fine-tuned with care, all of it vanished in mere minutes. Around me, neighbors lingered in stunned silence. Some covered their mouths in shock, others turned away, pretending not to notice. But one person didn't bother hiding her glee. Across the street, HOA President Linda Grayson leaned against her porch railing, sipping tea as if this were just another peaceful morning. I could see the smug satisfaction glinting in her eye, the same look she'd given me when she'd slapped violation notices into my hands, one after another, with her perfectly manicured fingers. She told me the boat wasn't allowed. The HOA didn't permit watercraft of that size in the neighborhood. It disrupted the aesthetic unity, or some nonsense like that. It wasn't blocking the road, though, and it sat neatly on my own property. I'd even put down tarps to protect the concrete. None of that mattered. The letters kept coming: warnings, fines, threats of legal action. Then came the fire. The fire marshal later confirmed what I'd already guessed. An accelerant had been poured at the ship's base. This was no accident. Someone had set it ablaze on purpose. No cameras caught the culprit. The only one I had, mounted on my garage, had been conveniently smashed the night before. Its lens cracked just enough to render the footage useless. Coincidence? Hardly. I knew who was behind it, or at least who'd orchestrated it, but knowing and Vowing were worlds apart. I'd moved to Pine Grove 4 months earlier after retiring early from the Coast Guard and selling my marine consulting business. I came here for quiet, a chance to build the ship I'd dreamed of since I was a kid, not some little weekend dinghy, but a real vessel I could take out on the open water for weeks. My new neighbors had seemed welcoming at first, offering waves and curious questions as the ship's frame took shape in my wide driveway. That all changed when Linda got wind of it. She showed up one day with a printed copy of the HOA rules, jabbing her finger at Rule 17. No commercial or recreational vehicles, including watercraft, could stay in driveways longer than 48 hours. I tried explaining it wasn't commercial, wasn't even finished yet. It wasn't noisy or in anyone's way, just a dream taking shape. She didn't care. Rules are rules, she'd said. I offered to move it weekly, hauling it to a rented storage lot and back, but she shot that down. To still disrupted the neighborhood's look. The notices piled up, a warning, a fine, then a legal threat. I kept building anyway, pouring every free hour into it. Some neighbors quietly rooted for me, others gossiped behind shut blinds. I didn't. Mindy wasn't hurting anyone. The day I finished, I stepped back and admired it. She was stunningly polished, a masterpiece. I named her Liberty, painting the name across her side in deep green, filled with pride and hope. I planned a small celebration that night, just a few friends over for drinks in the backyard. But at 4:12 a.m., a loud bang and the faint whiff of smoke jolted me awake. I ran outside barefoot, panic surging as I saw flames licking up from Liberty's rear wheels. My garden hose was no match. I dialed 911 and yelled for help, but by the time the fire trucks arrived, she was gone, just a blackened skeleton of charred wood. As dawn broke and the firefighters left, Linda strolled by with her dachshund, pausing just long enough to murmur something about how accidents happen when people think they're above the rules. My jaw clenched, fists balled, but I stayed silent for now. That night, I sat in my garage, staring at Liberty's remains through the open door, and made a vow. This wouldn't end here. Court wasn't an option. Linda was too cunning, with allies on the board and enough loopholes to wriggle free. No, this would be about consequences, raw, personal, lasting ones. I had an edge she hadn't counted on. I wasn't just a shipbuilder. I had connections, time, and nothing left to lose. Sleep didn't come. The smoky air clung to me as my anger sharpened into something focused, deliberate. By morning, I had a plan, not petty revenge, but something bigger, something that would strip Linda bare before the neighbors she'd cowed into submission. This wasn't just about my ship, it was about the control she wielded and the fear it bred. I wasn't her only target. For a week, I stayed low, clearing Liberty's wreckage piece by piece, ignoring the pitying glances. Linda walked her dog daily, lingering near my driveway to flaunt her fearlessness. I gave her no thing, no look, no word. Silence can unnerve more than fury. Meanwhile, I started citing neighbors, framing it as casual chats. At first, they were wary, glancing toward the street, scared to be seen with me. But the stories trickled out. One guy had been fined for a wheelchair ramp for his mom. A couple got slapped with a violation for a garden trellis deemed too tall. A family's play structure for their adopted kids was rejected with no reason. It was all the same control masked as community standards. I recorded everything: testimonies, letters, photos of notices pinned to fridges or stashed in drawers. I stuck to facts, building a case too solid to brush off. A retired teacher down the block became an ally, pulling out a drawer of HOA minutes she'd kept for years, highlighted, annotated, a treasure trove. They revealed Linda's reign. Vague references to unsightly structures and non-traditional residents, hints at keeping a certain image. Nothing overt, she was too sharp for that, but the pattern was unmistakable. It wasn't about rules, it was about power over who fit in. I backed it all up on an encrypted drive, printed copies, and went further. I filed an anonymous county complaint about HOA overreach and fund misuse, attaching receipts showing inflated payments to landscaping firms tied to Linda's cousin. Another neighbor confirmed her son ran the overpriced patrol service. The cracks were widening. The HOA election loomed, a yearly vote at the community center where Linda always ran unopposed. This time I'd shift the tide. I quietly urged others to run, helped them draft statements, shared my evidence, and encouraged them to rally neighbors not for vengeance, but for fairness and safety. Whispers grew into conversations. People lingered longer at mailboxes, walked dogs in pairs. Linda sensed if their pace quickened, her eyes scanned for disloyalty. She posted warnings about vandalism and false information, but the momentum was unstoppable. A week before the election, I mailed every resident a packet. A letter on community purpose, HOA rules versus property rights, quotes from the ADA and zoning laws, and one question: who really benefits from this? Then I waited. Election night, I sat in the back as the room filled, chairs scraping, voices buzzing. Linda strode in, blue blazer crisp, smile tight, her cronies trailing. But the air was different. People clutched my packets, whispered over printouts. Questions erupted. Where did the funds go? Why the inflated patrol rates? Why the selective fines? Linda rushed the agenda, voice wavering, but when nominations opened, 3 hands shot: UPA woman from Elm Lane. A dad fined over his kids' therapy toys, the teacher who'd aided me. Linda faltered, touting experience, but no one bought it. Ballots went out, and as votes were tallied, murmurs turned to demands. Someone mentioned my ship, another pressed why no investigation followed. Linda snapped she knew nothing, but her voice broke. People remembered her watching the fire unmoved. The results came, every incumbent lost. New faces took every seat. Applause swelled, confident, alive. Linda sat stone-faced, eyes down. As I left, the new president, Elm Lane's woman, thanked me, asking for more evidence. I handed her a drive with everything: emails, statements, a harassment timeline. Linda slipped out a side door, silent. The next day, the community board announced an investigation into funds and enforcement. Her name vanished from the website. A week later, a for sale sign sprouted on her lawn. Her dachshund stopped parading. She faded, avoiding eyes. The neighborhood shifted. Block meetings sprang up, tools were shared, kids played freely. The new board opened every decision to input. One day, a shy neighbor showed me sketches for a community boating project, small, inclusive, for kids to learn carpentry and sailing. Hope flickered. My garage became our workshop. Soon, dozens joined: vets, teens, parents. We built kayaks, canoes, birdhouse, sniffing with purpose. The HOA greenlit the old tennis courts for our site. Liberty's nameplate, charred but legible, hung at the garage, and a reminder of loss turned to growth. We called it Project Haven. A year after the fire, Pine Grove held Harbor Day by the Lakia Festival, born from our scars. Kids paddled a 20-foot sailboat we built together. I christened it with cider, word simple. This was a community reborn. Cheers rang out as it glided off. Later, a plaque went up, in memory of what was lost and in honor of what we chose to build instead. Below, Liberty. Peace settled in, not from solitude, but from standing firm and lifting others. Linda's mistake wasn't burning my ship. It was sparking a fire that forged a harbor she couldn't destroy.